One of the biggest mistakes men make when interacting with a mature woman is assuming attraction begins with intensity. It doesn't, not for her. A mature woman has already experienced charm, attention, empty compliments, and men trying too hard to impress her. What she pays attention to now is something far more subtle. She watches how a man makes her feel emotionally when he's close to her. And that begins with the energy behind his touch. A calm, confident touch communicates more than words ever could. It tells her whether you are grounded or needy, whether you are emotionally stable or seeking validation, whether your presence feels safe or stressful. And mature women are incredibly sensitive to this difference because experience has trained them to read emotional energy faster than younger women often do. When a man lightly places his hand on her lower back while guiding her through a crowded room, it's not just physical contact. It's leadership without force. It's protection without control. It says, "I'm aware of you. I'm present with you." That tiny moment can create more attraction than an hour of rehearsed flirting because it activates something psychological inside her, the feeling that she can relax around you. And relaxation is one of the rarest emotions a mature woman experiences with men today. Most men create tension. They rush, they perform. They overtalk because they're nervous. They touch too aggressively because they confuse confidence with dominance. But true masculine confidence has patience in it. It doesn't need to force chemistry. It allows chemistry to grow naturally. That's why something as simple as holding her hand the right way matters. Not gripping it tightly as if you're trying to claim ownership, but holding it with calm certainty. A mature woman notices that. She notices whether your touch feels anxious or steady, whether it feels like you're trying to take something from her or share an experience with her. And psychologically, this matters because women don't emotionally open themselves through pressure. They open through emotional safety, especially mature women. They've learned that attraction without safety leads to chaos. So, when your touch feels calm, intentional, and emotionally grounded, her nervous system begins associating your presence with peace instead of emotional labor. That's powerful. Even a brief touch on her shoulder during a meaningful conversation can create emotional depth if the timing is authentic. Why? Because mature women are no longer impressed by surface level attraction alone. They crave congruence. They want to feel that your actions, your energy, your voice, and your touch all come from the same authentic place. This is why emotional control becomes attractive. A man who is fully in control of himself creates emotional security around him. And when a woman feels emotionally secure, she naturally becomes more feminine, more open, more affectionate. Not because she's trying to impress you, but because your presence allows her to stop being guarded. That's what many men fail to understand. Attraction isn't always created by excitement. Sometimes it's created by relief. Relief from pressure, relief from uncertainty, relief from emotional inconsistency. A mature woman falls deeply for the man whose presence quiets her mind. And there's another layer to this most men completely overlook. Touch is not powerful because of physical sensation alone. It's powerful because of emotional timing. A gentle touch after she shares something vulnerable. Holding her close when she's emotionally overwhelmed. Resting your hand on hers during silence instead of filling every moment with unnecessary words. These moments create emotional imprinting because they make her feel understood without explanation. That's rare, and rare things create deep attachment. The truth is, mature women don't fall in love with performance. They fall in love with emotional steadiness. They remember the man who made them feel calm in a chaotic world. The man whose touch carried certainty instead of confusion. The man who understood that real intimacy begins long before the bedroom. Because in the end, the most powerful touch is the one that makes her feel safe enough to fully be herself. What many men never realize is that physical touch alone does not create emotional attachment. It can create excitement, it can create temporary chemistry. But deep love, the kind that makes a mature woman emotionally invest in you, is usually born through emotional touch long before it becomes physical. And emotional touch is something entirely different. It's the ability to make a woman feel emotionally understood through the way you interact with her, through your attention, through your presence, through the small physical gestures that quietly communicate, "I see you and I value you." Mature women respond intensely to this because they've already lived long enough to know the difference between a man who desires their body and a man who understands their spirit. That difference changes everything. A younger man often believes attraction is built through intensity, seduction, or constant excitement. But mature women are usually looking for emotional consistency more than emotional fireworks. They want connection that feels real, stable, intentional, and some of the most powerful moments happen in complete silence. For example, imagine she's talking about something stressful from her day. Most men instinctively try to fix the problem immediately. They interrupt. They offer solutions. They shift into performance mode because they think leadership means always having answers. But emotional intelligence often means knowing when not to speak. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply move closer, place your hand gently over hers, and truly listen. That small action tells her something profound. You don't have to carry everything alone. And psychologically, that creates emotional intimacy because mature women are often exhausted from feeling emotionally self-reliant all the time. Many have spent years being strong for everyone else: children, family, work, relationships. So when a man creates a space where she feels emotionally supported instead of emotionally responsible, her heart naturally softens toward him. This is why seemingly simple gestures become unforgettable: brushing her hair away from her face while she's speaking, pulling her into a slow embrace after a difficult moment, kissing her forehead instead of always trying to escalate physically, holding her close without immediately expecting something in return. These actions may appear small on the surface, but emotionally, they communicate patience, restraint, and genuine affection. And mature women are deeply moved by restraint because restraint signals emotional control. It shows that your affection is not driven purely by impulse or physical hunger. It shows that you are emotionally present enough to appreciate closeness without constantly trying to consume it. That creates trust, and trust is the foundation of emotional surrender. A woman cannot fully relax into love if she constantly feels evaluated, pressured, or emotionally unsafe. This is why emotional warmth becomes magnetic. A mature woman pays attention to how your energy affects her nervous system. Does she feel drained after spending time with you? Or does she feel calmer, lighter, more feminine, more emotionally alive? Those feelings matter more than most men understand, and there's something deeply philosophical about this. Human beings don't just seek pleasure in relationships, they seek emotional refuge, someone whose presence feels like home in a world that often feels emotionally exhausting. When your touch carries compassion, patience, attentiveness, and emotional steadiness, she begins associating you with emotional peace. That is when attraction transforms into attachment. And notice something important here: none of this requires dramatic romance. Mature women are not necessarily searching for perfection. They are searching for emotional authenticity. The man who notices the little things, the man who responds instead of reacts, the man who understands that intimacy is built in ordinary moments, not just grand gestures. Because ultimately, emotional touch is about making a woman feel emotionally safe enough to lower her defenses without fear of being misunderstood or taken for granted. And when a woman feels emotionally safe with a man, she doesn't just open her body to him. She opens her heart, her softness, her loyalty, and the parts of herself she hides from the rest of the world. That is the kind of connection people spend their entire lives searching for. What truly stays in a mature woman's mind are rarely the loud, obvious moments men think matter most. It's usually the subtle moments, the unexpected ones, the touches that feel emotionally genuine instead of strategically calculated. Because the older and wiser a woman becomes, the more sensitive she is to authenticity. She can feel when a man is performing attraction versus when he is fully present in the moment with her. And that distinction is everything. A mature woman is not just responding to your hands, she's responding to your emotional awareness, your timing, your ability to understand human connection beyond surface level seduction. That's why the touches she remembers most are often the ones that happen naturally, without pressure, without agenda, and without emotional force behind them. For example, imagine you're both laughing together during a conversation, and in that moment, you gently pull her slightly closer toward you. Not dramatically, not possessively, just naturally, as if your body instinctively wants her near. That small action can create an emotional spark far stronger than exaggerated romantic behavior because it feels real. Human beings are emotionally moved by authenticity more than performance, and mature women especially crave what feels emotionally real. Or imagine you're walking together, and without overthinking it, you lightly touch her hand while making eye contact during a meaningful moment in conversation. That touch becomes powerful not because of physical intensity, but because of emotional synchronization. Your attention, your eye contact, your calm presence, and your touch are all aligned in the same emotional moment. Psychologically, that creates emotional congruence, and congruence creates trust. This is why many women become emotionally attached to moments men barely even remember. Because women often remember how a moment felt emotionally far longer than the exact words spoken. A gentle touch on her face before a kiss. Wrapping your arm around her in public in a protective but relaxed way. Resting your hand on her knee while she's speaking, simply to reassure her that you're fully engaged with her. These actions communicate emotional presence, and emotional presence is becoming increasingly rare in modern relationships. Most people today are physically present but mentally distracted. They listen while checking their phone. They touch without emotional awareness. They speak without truly connecting. But when a man becomes fully present with a woman emotionally, mentally, physically, she feels it immediately. Presence has emotional weight. It creates intensity without force. That's why unexpected touches carry so much power. They bypass intellectual defenses and speak directly to emotion, and mature women often have strong emotional defenses. Not because they are cold, but because experience has taught them caution. They've encountered inconsistency, manipulation, men who said beautiful things but lacked emotional integrity. So now they observe actions carefully. They pay attention to whether a man's behavior feels emotionally grounded or emotionally performative. This is where subtle touch becomes deeply revealing. A man who touches with patience communicates emotional confidence. A man who does not rush intimacy communicates self-control. A man who can create closeness without desperation immediately stands apart from the majority. Why? Because desperation creates pressure, while emotional confidence creates curiosity, and curiosity is one of the deepest forms of attraction. When a woman feels emotionally curious about you, she begins thinking about you long after the interaction ends. She replays the small moments in her mind, the eye contact, the calm energy, the warmth in your touch, the feeling of being emotionally seen instead of emotionally pursued. That's what creates lingering emotional chemistry. Not intensity alone, emotional imprinting, and philosophically, this reveals something deeper about human connection itself. People rarely fall in love because someone was perfect. They fall in love because someone made them feel something meaningful in ordinary moments. A simple touch during silence, a reassuring hand during vulnerability, a moment of closeness that felt emotionally safe instead of emotionally complicated. Those are the moments that stay with people forever. Because at the end of the day, mature women are not searching for flawless men. They are searching for emotional truth. A man whose touch feels intentional, grounded, calm. A man whose presence allows them to stop performing and simply exist. And when your touch carries sincerity instead of strategy, you stop becoming just another man trying to impress her. You become the man she cannot stop thinking about.